Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to the HKUST and France panel, Green Finance, the Way Forward, co-organized with the Consulate General of France in Hong Kong and Macau, and the French Chamber of Commerce and Industry in Hong Kong. This event is organized in the framework of the France HKUST Innovation Hub in collaboration with Société Générale, with the participation of major French financial institutions. My name is Eunice, a Year 2 student in Sustainable and Green Finance at HKUST. Today's program will consist of a panel discussion on the latest trends of sustainable finance in the region, followed by a presentation by Campus France on the opportunities of pursuing studies in France. At the end, there will be a speak dating session where you will meet the industry experts and learn more about the green finance career prospect at the booths over there. The showcasing French companies today include Société Générale, BNP Paribas, Crédit Agricole CIB, Natixis, Amundi, and AXA Investment Managers. Please feel free to grab a bite and enjoy the French refreshment after the panel while mingling with our speakers and guests today. Now, may I invite Ms. Christile Drulhe, Consul-General of France in Hong Kong and Macau, to deliver the welcome remarks. Ms. Drulhe, please.
Professor Wang, distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, a very warm welcome to this remarkable gathering focused on the topic of green finance. It is truly an honor to stand before you today as we embark on this journey towards a more sustainable future. First, I would like to express my gratitude to each and every one of you for your presence. Your attendance here today reflects your commitment to addressing one of the most pressing challenges of our time, the urgent need to develop and implement sustainable financial practices for a greener future. The challenges of green finance are multifaceted, ranging from the need for innovative financial instruments to the necessity of encouraging sustainable investment practices. Green finance also needs talents and future professional leaders to work on it. It is with such events that we can foster meaningful dialogues and forge collective solutions to overcome obstacles. In that sense, I would like to thank warmly today's speakers for sharing the experience with us, Professor Véronique Lafon-Vinais, Mr. Ronald Young, Mrs. Kristy Wong, and Professor Quentin Moreau. Your presence here today means a lot for our new generation. It reflects the expertise of France through its companies and professors in the field of green finance. We are happy that two of our great experts work at HKUST and contributed to make this event a success. Allow me to take a brief moment to particularly acknowledge the remarkable contribution of French banks in this field. France has emerged as a global leader in green finance, with its financial institutions actively implementing sustainable practices. Their efforts have not only demonstrated the profitability of sustainable finance, but have also accelerated a global challenge towards greener investment strategies. Therefore, I would like to thank the representatives of Société Générale, BNP Paribas, CACIB, Natixis, Amundi and AXA for their support today. Moreover, French banks have played a significant role in advancing the principles of transparency and accountability in green finance by integrating environmental, social, and governance factors into their decision-making processes. They have ensured that investments align with sustainable objectives. The challenges we face require a collective effort involving governments, financial institutions, businesses, and individuals. Each one of us has a role to play in shaping a sustainable future. So let me also express special thanks to the students here present today, as your generation holds the key to unlocking innovative solutions and driving change. Your fresh perspectives and ideas will be important to transform the financial landscape into one that is truly sustainable. I hope that the presentations of the career and academic opportunities France has to offer to train tomorrow's leaders will inspire you. You can study in France, even in English, if you don't speak French. In conclusion, let us seize this opportunity to learn from one another, to collaborate, and to create a network of change makers committed to green finance. Thank you very much once again for your presence here today, and I wish you all an enriching and inspiring experience at this event. Merci beaucoup.
Thank you, Ms. Drulhe. May I invite Professor Wang Yang Wang, Vice President for Institutional Advancement of HKUST, to say a few words. Professor Wang, please.
Thank you. Thank you, Consul General Drulhe, for this wonderful event and for your your support, and also for the long time sustainable support of the French Consul General. Actually, I always thought, since I came here, actually the Consul General that I had most dealing with, and who has demonstrated, who has shown the greatest support for us was French Consul General. It got to the point that I thought it was part of HKUST. Okay, so thank you very much here. And I see a lot of people here today. Very, very impressed. It's a very international body of attendees to this wonderful event. I'm sure part of the reason for you all to be here was being enticed by the delicious French goodies we offer here, okay? But I think there's a deeper reason, that is sustainability and sustainable development is one of the common languages today in the world. I mean, I say this, I use this, when I say this, I think it's a sad commentary to the world we're in today because of the all the polarization, the confrontation, but at least it also highlights the importance of today's event, that we are focused on one particular area that is ultimately going to decide the long-term fate of human beings in some way. Okay, so for this, I'm really glad to see it has gathered so much interest from all the students, from all attendees, the companies. And I also want to use this opportunity to highlight some of the things we're doing in HKUST. So, a lot of people like to talk about the sustainability, right? Sustainable development, green finance, SDGs. Everybody like to talk about it. In fact, if you go to QS, university ranking, how many times these terms appear on your website is one of the criteria to rank you on at least on the particular KPI of sustainability. But in HKUST, many years ago, we already started doing a project called Sustainable and Smart Campus, SSC. Okay? So the whole idea was, instead of just talking about, let's do something about it. Okay? Now, of course, what a university can do is very limited. We cannot dictate how many, how much carbon a company would actually emit, and how much electricity we are going to use, come from clean energy, from renewable energy. However, what we can do is on this particular campus, we develop some technologies, but we also try our campus as a living lab for sustainable development. Okay, so for that we actually have for this particular project, faculty, staff, and students have all been very enthusiastically participating. So you can see, our roofs are filled with solar panels, and you can see we have now trying to reduce food waste through smart calculation of how much we actually need, and we're reducing the paperwork by all our graduation certificate are put on blockchain, for example, and so that there is absolutely no way to fake your certificate. So these are the little things we can do to help, and in the coming year, we are also driving a new university alliance. We have many university alliances in the world. We have the Asian Alliance. We have Asia Pacific Rim University Alliance. I'm sure there are many in Europe and in other parts of the world. But we want to be the driver for a net zero university alliance. And we have been also talking to some French university and our peer university in Asia, in the U.S., Cornell, NTU, we have already started the conversation. And I hope that there will be many French universities being part of this university alliance. Okay, so only through this kind of collective effort, and in my view, this is an effort that goes far beyond the nation border, far beyond race, far beyond culture. It's the common fate of the whole mankind. And let's get this going. And I'm sure today is actually a little step that we can take moving forward in the direction that make our world a more sustainable and more equitable world. Okay, and I will end here. Thank you very much. Merci beaucoup.
Thank you, Professor Wang. Please remain on stage. And may I also invite Ms. Drulhe to join this souvenir presentation to our speakers today. Thank you, Ms. Drulhe. May I invite Mr. Ronald Young, Head of Sustainable Finance Asia, Global Banking and Advisory of Société Générale, to come on stage. Please look at the photographer there. Please pass the souvenir. Thank you. Yes. 1, 2, 3, smile. Thank you, Mr. Young. Please remain on stage. Mr. Young. May I invite Ms. Kristy Wong, Associate Director, ESG Investment Specialist of Amundi, to come on stage. Please look at the photographer there. 1, 2, 3, smile. Thank you, Ms. Wong. Please remain on stage. Now it's the turn for our faculty. May I invite Professor Véronique Lafon-Vinais, Co-Director, Bachelor of Science in Sustainable and Green Finance Program at HKUST Business School to come on stage. Please look at the photographer there. 1, 2, 3, smile. Thank you, Professor Véronique. Please remain on stage. And finally, our faculty moderator, Professor Quentin Moreau from HKUST Division of Environment and Sustainability. Professor Moreau, please. Please look at the photographer there. 1, 2, 3, smile. Let's take a group photo together. May I invite our speakers and moderator to join along with Ms. Daisy Chan, Associate Vice President of Global Communications and Communications, and Professor Ronald Young, Director of HKUST France Innovation Hub. One, two, three, cheers. Thank you, everyone. We're now starting the panel discussion. May our moderator and speakers remain on stage. May our distinguished guests please be seated. Oh, Professor, please. Yep. And then Professor Quentin. Here. And then, yeah. Thank you. May I invite today's moderator, Professor Quentin Moreau, Assistant Professor of Division of Environment and Sustainability of HKUST, to introduce our panelists today, please. Over to you, Professor Moreau.
So, good afternoon. Welcome to this panel discussion. I'm Quentin Moreau, Assistant Professor here at HKUST, and it's my pleasure to be here with three distinguished panelists. So here we have Ronald Young, Head of Sustainable Finance Asia, Global Banking and Advisory at Société Générale in Hong Kong. He has completed numerous sustainable finance transactions and developed innovative impact finance solutions across Asia. Is also actively contributing to the development of sustainable finance standards and taxonomies. On the right, we have Kristy Wong from Amundi in Hong Kong. She's Associate Director and ESG Investment Specialist. She has extensive experience in Hong Kong's financial and public sectors, and she drives development of ESG finance and investment by being an ESG working group member of 8 different investors, initiatives, and industry associations. And finally, we have here on my left, Véronique Lafon-Vinais, who is an Associate Professor of Business Education here at HKUST. She is, among others, co-director of the bachelor degree in Sustainable and Green Finance that we have in this university. And before working in academia, she has had more than 20 years of experience in finance in Europe, America, and Asia. So, without further ado, let's start the discussion. And I would like to invite the panelists of the day to share first a general overview of sustainable finance in particular in Hong Kong, and maybe a little bit as well on the day-to-day operational practices. So maybe I will let Ronald speak first.
Yeah, sure. Happy to. So good to see you all here. And maybe let me tell you a bit about what I do, so you know where I'm coming from when I talk about sustainable finance. So my main job as SocGen is about like structuring financings for corporate and financial institutions clients. And that includes like structuring green loans, green bonds, and sustainability linked type of financing and instruments. And let me talk about like sustainable finance. And basically, I understand many of you are studying sustainable finance. Like I understand there's a degree program focusing on sustainable finance, and or maybe environmental and sustainability related subjects. So I'm sure all of you are well aware of what is sustainable finance and how it generally works. So maybe I'll just talk more about the recent trends of the market to basically maybe discuss more about where the market is going. So maybe let me talk about sustainable loan market first. So the global sustainable loan market actually has been growing quite a lot over the recent years. And there's like significant growth in volume between 2018 and 2021. And the growth actually tapered off in 2022. And in 2023, the volume of sustainable finance loan declined substantially. It's driven primarily by the substantially lower overall loan market volume. However, although there's a volume drop in 2023, the market share of sustainable finance, when I say market share, is the percentage of sustainable finance out of the total loan volumes, has actually been steadily increasing until 2022. And in 2023, it remains relatively flat. So in other words, sustainable finance loan has maintained its popularity in 2023, despite a substantial drop in volume. So it maintains popularity, but at the same time, like, you know, I've been discussing with clients with market players, with the clients, and many are citing the standards have been pushing higher and higher for borrowers and issuers to go for the market. And then basically clients have become like more and more cautious in terms of approaching this topic. So they want to make sure they have the requisite elements before they go, and there's less rush to get to the market. So in terms of format, so sustainable finance has like quite a few formats. So there's like sustainability link format, and there's also green and social format. But in terms of format, sustainability linked loan is the dominant format among the green market. In terms of region, sustainable finance started in Europe, and is still the dominant market around the world. And Asia Pacific and Americas, they are lagging behind, but they have shown a growth trend, catching up quickly. So I was talking about the global sustainable loan market just now, but let me dive a bit more into the Asia Pacific loan market. So in the Asia Pacific market, we see a similar trend in the uptake of sustainable finance. The market also experienced significant volume growth from 2018 to 22 and show a reduction in volumes in 2023. So in APAC, again, it's similar to the global trend. Sustainable loan is the sustainability linked loan is the dominant type of format. And as for the bond market, it also demonstrates a consistent trend with the global loan market. Except like for the bond market, the dominant format is green bond. And then in terms of geography, it's also similar. And as for the APAC bond market, we also see a similar trend as for the global bond market.
Thank you very much, Ronald. Maybe I pass it now to Kristy.
Yeah, sure. Hello, everyone. This is Kristy from Amundi, and I'm very happy to see you all today. So just a quick introduction of Amundi. Amundi is Europe's largest asset manager, and we are also one of the largest in the world. So before I go any further, I just want to ask, has any one of you heard about asset manager before? If you can put the hands up. Okay, this is actually great because I've heard that the audience mixes a bit of like science, technology, and also like finance background. So I just want to make sure everyone knows what is an asset manager before I go on. So for those of you that haven't heard about asset manager, in a very simple way, the asset manager, you can think of us like a financial expert that we give advice to individuals or organizations when they want to manage, but when they want to have their investments and valuable assets managed by a financial expert. So their valuable assets can be like stocks or bond or real estate properties. So we are the financial expert to do that. So globally, we manage around 2 trillion of assets, and about 40% of our assets are responsible investment assets, and we call that AUM, assets under management. So what we see globally is that the demand for responsible investment, it has been increasing a lot. So according to Bloomberg, actually by 2030, so in just 6 years, the global responsible investment is going to account for 1/4 of the global AUM. So meaning 25% of the global AUM will be responsible investment, and that is equal to about 40 trillions. And that's a lot of money, right? So what's the driver behind? There are actually multiple drivers behind the growth of responsible investment. One of the key drivers that we observe in Asia Pacific is the number of Asia Pacific ESG regulations. Globally, I'm sure that you all know that European is a leader in responsible investment. So I think it's not surprising that Europe has the most number of ESG regulations in the world. But what I find is really interesting is that Asia actually has the second most number of ESG regulations in the world. And the number of ESG regulations actually have doubled during the past 5 years. And this is one of the key drivers for responsible investment. The other key drivers for responsible investment is the investment demand. So if we look at the UNPRI, which is the United Nations Principles for Responsible Investment. So globally, we have over 5,000 UNPRI signatories, and that is equivalent to about $100 trillion AUM. And the number of UNPRI signatories actually has increased a lot in Asia Pacific as well. If we look at Asia, there were only 29 UNPRI signatories in 2012. So 12 years ago, there was only 29 signatories. And now there is a 16-time increase to over 450 today. So the demand and the commitment of Asian investors in responsible investment has been increasing as well. So what it means for you as a student is that there are a lot of opportunities waiting for you. No matter you are doing a degree in sustainable finance or whether you are a science and engineering degree, like I did, I actually did science and engineering before. So there are actually a lot of opportunities ahead of you.
Thank you very much, Kristy. Véronique?
Okay, I'm going to take a completely different tack, and I'm going to tell you the story of sustainability at HKUST. So this is not a new thing. We haven't just been riding the wave. We've been there for a long time. From an institutional perspective, kudos to our engineering school because they started before the business school. And they set up the Division of Environment and Sustainability over 10 years ago, which is about the same time I was teaching the first sustainability course in our MBA program. What drove our school, the business school, to put sustainability at the heart of its strategy, we have 4 core strategies at the business school, is the recognition that there was a huge talent gap, and that students who could provide this rare combination of business skills and sustainability skills were in huge demand. So we created the Bachelor in Sustainable and Green Finance 4 years ago. Arthur, please stand up. He is my co-director. Please stand up, dear. There we go. It's an interdisciplinary program, so it's a partnership between the Business School and the Division of Environment and Sustainability. You've seen Eunice, one of our star pupils, and we recognize that the industry needs talent that combines business acumen and understanding, a deep understanding of sustainability. Besides the program, we also recognize the need for ongoing education, continuous education. So we've partnered with the industry, with the Hong Kong Green Finance Association, to establish an executive education program called the Certificate in Sustainable Finance, which is one of the programs recognized by the HKMA platform. We are in our 4th edition right now. And of course, we partner with the European Chamber of Commerce and the different chambers of commerce to offer a number of different events. Just, when was it, 2 days ago? We even had a workshop at the European Chamber of Commerce that hopes to lead to recommendations to the government. So HKUST, in its many incarnations, is trying to do what it can. And Professor Wang has disappeared, but I am so grateful for him to mention our sustainability unit and a sustainable campus as a living lab, which I'm very happy to say we wrote a case study about that we've been using in the business school. So this is not a new thing for us, but we still have so much to learn. And we're very grateful to our partners in the industry who are supporting us, taking our students as interns and giving them jobs. So we look forward to a lot more opportunities.
Thank you so much. So I'd like maybe to ask a first question to Ronald. So we understand that we have some financial innovation going on, and is it basically just about risk, and or do we have some opportunities going with this movement towards a more sustainable future? So is it just about risk? Is it about also opportunities, and what are in the process the challenges?
Yeah, actually, from outside, we see a lot of opportunities. So, back in 2022, SocGen started a program to transform our business to basically to become more sustainable, and then also help our clients to be more sustainable. So we have a target to raise euro 300 billion between 2022 and 25. And then, for example, we're helping our clients to meet this target. We're helping our clients to actually raise money on, for example, green hydrogen projects or renewable projects, etc. and etc. So we see a lot of opportunities. And then, so it's not only about risks and where the opportunities are coming from. So because the world and the business, they need to decarbonize and transition, and there's a significant amount of investment needs for new types of energy projects. So maybe I'll give a few examples. So, I am actually, before I came into sustainable finance, I was an energy banker. So maybe I'll just give a few examples on the energy projects that we are financing. So for example, offshore wind, these are the wind power plants generating projects in the middle of the ocean. So with wind turbines standing on the ocean floor, and this could capture the wind out in the middle of the ocean, the strong wind there, we can leverage the open space there. So all of these like offshore wind projects are pretty large scale and then pretty efficient. So and then we have basically we are quite focused on the key markets in Asia. For example, like Taiwan, Japan, Korea, and China. These are the main markets in Asia, and we're in most of those. And then another example of opportunities is green hydrogen. So, some industrial applications, they are actually require a certain level of heat. So you cannot substitute that with electricity, but you could use hydrogen in place of natural gas. So in those cases, we're not talking about like hydrogen from fossil fuel. We're talking about hydrogen produced by renewable energy. So it's produced through an electrolysis process, breaking down water into hydrogen and oxygen. So example of this type of investments you could find in Australia, where there's like plenty of sunshine and wind and renewable energy generating capacity. And Australia has a goal to become a base for green hydrogen project and to export to the rest of the region. So that's another example. Yeah. And then, battery energy storage as well, because renewable power, when it generates electricity, it doesn't produce GHG emissions. But the problem is like renewable power is intermittent. So you can only generate during the day when there's sunlight or when there's wind. So you need a battery to store the electricity. So the energy will actually go into the battery when the renewable power are being generated. And then the battery can inject power back to the grid when there's no renewable energy generations. So we have been financing this kind of energy resources. And then in terms of like difficulty, basically we see this as opportunities, but then like it's not like without challenges. So for example, this kind of energy projects is non-traditional. So we need to get comfortable with the technology and the new business model. And sometimes we need to kind of like come up with like new financing models to address the credit challenges for these new type of energies.
Thank you. Kristy, now I'd like to ask you a question because I understand that you are more on the investment side. And so we think of investors traditionally as thinking of financial returns when they decide on what to invest on. But you also integrate ESG factors. So how do you do that? What kind of maybe metrics you use, and how do you find a good balance between the need of generating sufficient financial returns, but at the same time the need to deliver good tangible outcomes on environmental or social metrics?
Yeah, sure. This is actually a FAQ. How do we integrate ESG in when we make an investment decision? And very often I approach the question in a way is that the responsible investment spectrum is actually very wide. So people often think ESG investing is just like one thing, but actually it comprises of so many different investment strategies. So on one end, there is an exclusion, or you can call it negative screening, if that's easier to understand. So basically meaning that we screen anything that is bad. For example, there is a bad setter, like coal setter, or maybe a biological weapon or chemical weapon setter. This is bad, right? So you want to exclude them when you do your investment, and that's exclusion. What I just mentioned is more like on a setter approach. You can also do that on a normative approach, meaning that if a company has violated some United Nations standard, and you want to screen that out as well. And that's also called screening, negative screening. And that's one approach of ESG investing. The other approach is like there is also a positive screening, meaning that you want to, when you want to invest in the ESG leaders out of the investment universe. And then you can go for thematic investing, meaning if you like a particular theme, like a low carbon theme, or renewable energy theme, then you can just invest in the particular theme, and that's called thematic investing. And then goes into what you just mentioned about impact investing, meaning that you value the societal or environmental impact and metrics before the financial return. So this is actually a misconception that when you go for responsible investment, you're sacrificing financial return. Is not true. It depends which strategy that you go for. And I just want to share a research with you that responsible investing is just like any other kind of investment strategy. So you can win some money, you can lose some money as well. Depends on how you structure your investment strategy. So if you look at some of the research available, there are research that shows that ESG investing actually correlates to positive financial return, but there are also research that shows that there is a negative correlation. So I just want to share a mega study, a study of the study. In fact, Amundi actually has studied a meta study that studied over 2,600 studies relating to ESG investing and also financial return. And what it shows is that 90% of the results shows ESG investing either has a positive or neutral effect on the financial return. So only 10% shows there is actually a negative correlation for the financial negative impact on the financial return. So that also explains ESG investing does not mean it is going to affect your financial return. So as a manager, so how do we evaluate an investment ESG metrics and performance? I think I'm very lucky that I work for Amundi because we have a very big ESG team. So globally, we have over 80 people in the ESG team. And we also have a lot of access to external data providers. So we have access to over 15 external data providers. And internally, we also have a lot of ESG internal databases. So we also have our own proprietary ESG scoring methodology. So when we want to analyze an investment holdings ESG performance, we leverage our external resources. We also leverage our internal resources to form a view of that particular investment holding. In fact, I have a colleague with me today, and her name is Drulhe. So she is actually our ESG data and solution and methodology expert. So please feel free to reach out to both of us if you want to know more about how we integrate ESG into our investment decision.
Thank you. Now, maybe I will ask a question to Véronique. So we understand that integrating ESG factors is not necessarily going against the financial returns, but at the same time, how is it able, basically, this ESG investing strategy to deliver tangible, meaningful societal changes? And is there also maybe a risk of going too far in that direction?
Why do I get the tough questions? Not fair. God. Okay. Let's go back to first principles. Okay. When you're looking at any investments, you want to focus on the risks, the return, and the liquidity. And what's become clear to all of us is that climate change has increased the material risks to businesses. So as an investor, you want to know what are the risks in your investment, short, medium, and long term. By identifying material risks in your investment related to environmental, social, and governance matters, you can therefore avoid those risks or at least try to mitigate them, which avoids losing money. So that impacts your returns. Now, if you go to the extreme of the negative screening, you might pass on opportunities related to transition and adaptation, where firms that are currently not so good for the environment are putting in a lot of work and a lot of effort to change and adapt and transition to a new model, like, for example, using hydrogen, like Ronald was saying, or all the transformation that our electricity provider CLP is doing. So while they might be considered initially as a bad investment from ESG purposes, by putting in all these transition and adaptation efforts, they become a less risky investment, and therefore you can generate returns. So that's on the risk-return kind of thing. What was the other thing that you asked me? It was a long question. I don't like two questions at the same time.
Is there a risk of going too far?
Well, I'm French, and Europe is very clearly setting goals towards transition to a hopefully sustainable future. Other parts of the world, not so much. And I'm kind of going to tiptoe around the issue of some countries going back and thinking that doing business the old way is going to help them. It won't. So the short answer is no, we're not going too far. And those who think we are, in my personal opinion, are sorely mistaken.
Thank you so much. So maybe I have time for maybe one or two questions before moving to the questions that were asked by the audience. So maybe, Kristy, I would like to ask you a follow-up question on what you mentioned previously. So could you elaborate a little bit more on the ESG performance measurement? So elaborating on what kind of measures you use, and more broadly, is it this kind of performance something difficult to measure?
Yeah, sure. So like I mentioned earlier, we do have a ESG proprietary methodology, scoring methodology, which is sector specific. So internally, we have divided we actually categorized our scoring methodology according to different sectors, because each sector ESG uniqueness is different. The material topics are different. So, for example, if we're looking into an automobile sector, manufacturing sector, then obviously the environmental pillar would be more important. So, the ESG pillar, the E pillar would be definitely more important because it's manufacturing sector. It can generate polluting wastage or materials, etc., etc. So when we analyze a company in the automobile sector, then we pay a heavier focus on the environmental pillar. Whereas if we want to look at investment in the financial industry, then among the ESG pillar, then definitely the G pillar would be more important because of the data privacy, because of the IT security, etc., etc. So internally, our ESG scoring methodology is actually right on the belief that the material ESG topics is actually different for different sectors. So other than the scoring criteria and weighting is actually different for different sector. We also leverage external data providers, like I mentioned. So we do not just take external data and then copy and paste that number into our system. We don't do that. We actually have a team of ESG data and solution team. Actually, my colleague is in that team to actually integrate all these ESG data providers into one single ESG scoring methodology. And it's actually much harder than it sounds. So, for example, my colleague is from she is a ESG financial engineer background, and her team is full of financial engineers background people as well. So it's actually a very difficult subject to actually integrate different ESG data into a scoring methodology. So based on the scoring methodology, we will be able to rank an investment holding from A to G. A meaning the best, G meaning the worst. For the investment holdings that get a G, we need to exclude them because they're so bad. So it's not just an automated procedure that we only rely on external data providers. Internally, we also have a big ESG team, and we also provide our internal inputs as well. So we do have our internal ESG databases. So we analyze, and when we analyze an investment holding, we leverage external data provider inputs. We also conduct our own research. So our ESG research team actually talk to some of the companies that we invest in. We conduct like a regular company engagement with the management of the investment firm, of the investee. So that's how we can form a better and more comprehensive view of a holding that we invest in.
Thank you so much. And I think that was the main questions I wanted to ask you. So I suggest now that we just have a look at the questions that we received from the audience, and I kind of try to summarize the questions that we have received. So we had questions, for instance, on new green securities. People know a lot about green bonds, but you talked, Ronald, also about other instruments, and you kind of explained already what they were. But maybe what you need now to tell us more about is their performance. So are they performing well in terms of financial returns, and can they spur the development of, let's say, sustainable practices, and in particular spur the development of renewable energy? And a related question to that would be more the place of Hong Kong in that. Is Hong Kong having a special advantage in terms of implementing this new innovative sustainable instrument?
Okay, sure. So in terms of returns, right? So basically, sustainable finance is like investing in something sustainable. But when people evaluate that investment, they'll also look at the fundamentals, like the credit fundamentals or the investment fundamentals. So they'll look at like risk returns basis, and then the fact that it's sustainable could have some impact. But then fundamentally, they'll still focus on risk and return on the fundamentals of the business. Yeah. So basically, how you can see it, how you visualize it would be like, let's say you have like a certain amount of return based on the risk return of the investment, and then the sustainability aspect would maybe add or minus like a small amount of return to that investment. And why would that be an adjustment? For example, like let's say, Kristy mentioned they like to invest in sustainable projects, sustainable business. So in sustainable business, sometimes you have like a slightly higher demand of funds. So slightly higher supply of funds demanding this kind of investments. So this could help actually make the returns a bit different. Yeah, but then nevertheless, like when we do like, let's say I mentioned a lot of like renewable energy projects, and those projects like people mainly focus on the fundamental risks to price the project. Yeah. So the next question is about renewable energy, right? So yeah, so basically, green bond and green loan, they can be used to finance renewable energy. So renewable energy is eligible use of proceeds for green bonds and green loans. So this could help supply more funds to the project. But again, like people would also consider the fundamental risks of the projects, and then to make sure the return would be able to compensate for the risk that they're taking. Yeah. And then in terms of what Hong Kong can do, recently I was at luncheon. So basically, I was asked by the government. So basically, they are also asking the same question, like what Hong Kong can do for sustainable finance. So, but I think fundamentally, on a very broad base, like Hong Kong is an international financial center. So it's a center that attracts international capital. And China is actually one of the biggest country in terms of producing green technologies, whether it's renewable solar panel, wind turbines, or EV technologies. They are one of the biggest producer, and it's also one of the biggest market. So I think Hong Kong has a role to connect this kind of international capital to where it's demanded, for example, in China and maybe beyond China, broader in Asia as well.
Thank you. So we understand that Hong Kong can play a special role in the development of these new instruments, and I guess it also translates into potentially many job opportunities. So in the audience, we have a lot of students, and they have asked us a lot about maybe what could be the required skill set to secure a position, or what would be the parts of sustainable finance where you'd have a lot of job opportunities. So maybe that's the questions I want to ask Kristy.
Sure, maybe I'll go first, and Ronald, please feel free to jump in as well. So job opportunities in sustainable finance. Actually, sustainable finance is a big market. We need to identify the key players in that sustainable finance ecosystem first. So we have the banking organizations. We also have asset management organizations. So banking, investment banking, commercial banking, private banking, all these have sustainable finance opportunities. So coming from an investment perspective, I focus more on the investment manager side, and also maybe the asset owner side. So just taking Amundi, for example, so we have a big ESG team, right? So how we divide our ESG team is into different smaller teams. So for me, I'm more like a ESG product specialist. So I help our clients to structure a ESG fund. A ESG fund can be a retail fund that you can buy on your retail banking app. You can see like there are a lot of funds that you can choose. So there can be some ESG funds that I help structure. And that's more on the retail banking side. But on the institutional side, there is actually a huge demand for responsible investment. So I also help structure some discretionary ESG investment mandates for central banks, for government pension funds, for insurance companies. So the skill set for such a ESG investment specialist role would require ESG knowledge as well as investment and financial knowledge. I would say like 50%. So this is one of the role. The other kind of role within the investment managers would be more on the ESG side, and that's what, like when you find on the job or job recruiter website, it can be called stewardship analyst or ESG research analyst. So what they do is that when we purchase a green bond, for example, when we purchase a green bond, we need to analyze whether the green bond is actually genuinely green, whether there is any greenwashing risk. And after purchasing the green bond, we want to monitor the performance of the green bond in terms of whether it meets the commitment that it made. So for the people in the stewardship team or the research analyst team, they need to conduct ESG research. They need to talk to the company of the issuer, for example, the green bond issuer, to understand further how the company's overall ESG strategy is. So this actually requires more analytical kind of skill sets and more ESG research skill sets. So I would say this kind of role is more like 70 or 80% ESG knowledge, and then maybe 20-30% of financial knowledge. The investment manager also has other roles as well. Because we are like a long-only fund manager, there are other asset managers in the private equity space, and they may be more engineering and science focused. For example, if you want to structure, I'm just taking an example, like for example, if you want to structure a hydrogen fund in the private equity space, then you would want to really look into some of the private asset markets. And that requires a very unique and very deep dive and expertise kind of knowledge in the hydrogen sector, very specifically on that sector. So it really depends on what sort of industry and role that you want to get in, and the job skills that could be quite different. And I only just cover the investment manager opportunity, so please feel free to share.
Yeah, maybe I'll add I echo Kristy's view. So I think for sustainable finance major, you can work in sustainable investing and sustainable finance. But then I will look at in the other way is like, for as a sustainable financier, I've often like engaged with like corporates and financial institutions. So, from their side, they'll need sustainable finance people as well. For example, they need someone who will devise the sustainability strategy and then talk to the banks, explain to broader stakeholders what they do in terms of sustainability, like what type of sustainable investment they're making from the company side. And financial institutions wise, like they're like sustainability people who look after the portfolio, who has to basically, a lot of banks these days are looking at how to decarbonize their portfolio. So actually on that side as well, there will be a strong demand for talent like yourselves.
I will make a point which is a general point. When you look at what you learn in university, the set of skills that you learn, it's not limited to one particular type of industry. So somebody who graduates with a finance degree learns finance skills and knowledge that can be deployed not just in a bank, not just in an asset manager or an insurance company, but also in the government, in corporations, in non-governmental organization, everywhere. And the same applies to sustainable finance. So we need people who have the business skills and the sustainable skills across the economy. Of course, on asset managers, insurance companies, banks, commercial banks, investment banks, but also government, also corporations, law firms. With the rise of litigation, you need to know what's going on. Consultants, but audits, regulations, reporting, verification, certification, you name it. And of course, academia. Back at you.
Yeah, so I wanted to ask you a follow-up question. So we understand that currently on the market there are a lot of demands for talents, but how do you see things evolving going forward? What are maybe the upcoming regulations, and what could be the market looking like in 5-10 years? If you have maybe some ideas of some trends, and can we see maybe some pushback, or because we see, for instance, in the US that we have some anti-ESG movement.
Okay, I'll whip up our crystal ball here. My personal conviction is we will have one when we no longer talk about sustainable finance. And that's the goal. That we will all integrate externalities in the way we do things. Is it going to be in 5 years? I don't think so, but at least we're moving forward. Because let's face it, if that doesn't happen, we're doomed. Okay? If you look at the latest news about climate warming, it is not good. Well, I don't care. I won't be there anymore, but you guys probably care. So I think at this stage, we still talk about sustainable finance, but one thing that makes me very happy is that we finally have the ISSB, the International Sustainability Standard Boards, which is under the umbrella of the big accounting boards, accounting standards. And finally, the accountants are getting on board. We haven't got the economists on board yet. It's, we need to get them on board and actually rethinking models to integrate externalities. But hopefully, in my lifetime, we will no longer talk about sustainable finance.
Thank you, Véronique. So I think we are reaching towards the end of this panel, so maybe we'll ask. Or maybe we take some questions from the audience. Yeah, maybe we can do that. We try to.
So hand up, 2 hands up, 3 hands up.
Yeah. So do they have a microphone or?
Oh, what else? Hands.
Thank you. Thank you for the panel and discussion. So my question is, a big problem within sustainable finance is that there's taxonomy and different standards across regions, as well as with the ESG ratings, they can vary from company to company and from area. Do you think there's a solution to this or a way to standardize these practices, or I guess pool the different standards together to give a better overview?
Okay. Yeah, I think we discussed this earlier in the week. So let me take this. So I think we have to recognize one thing is like I think you're right. You point out there's like a range of taxonomy. Like there's a proliferation of taxonomy, especially in the region. Yeah. So you got taxonomies, you got a Chinese taxonomy, you got like Singapore taxonomy, ASEAN taxonomy, etc., etc. So, but I think one thing we need to recognize is like different countries are on a different pathway in terms of the transition journey or sustainability journey. So, China has a net zero goal by 2050, but then other countries have 2050. China has 2060. So they have a different pathway and there are different stages of economic development. So we need to recognize that. But nevertheless, we want the taxonomies to be interoperable. So basically something recognized under, let's say, a Chinese taxonomy, and we want to understand whether it also recognized under the EU taxonomy, for example, or Singapore taxonomy, for example. So there needs to be some tool to help the interoperability, and actually the international associations or regulator, they are actually striving to do that. So an early effort would be an example would be the EU-China Common Ground Taxonomy. So it's not a taxonomy per se, but actually it's a document that compare category by category, like basically how does an activity under the Chinese taxonomy fare under the EU taxonomy. So there's an early effort. There's still a lot more work to do, but then at least there's an early effort and an initial tool to actually start doing the comparison. And then, Singapore government, they have announced that they will join this common ground taxonomy. So we are looking at there will be EU-China, Singapore taxonomy. And potentially, Hong Kong, given it's part of China, so it could join as well.
Thank you. So I think you talked about the material risk, and you also talked about different kinds of data standards and combining all of that data from external data providers into a single methodology, right, to compute that. So what kind of monitoring, if let's say technologies, do you think are you looking forward to, or things in terms of what technology can do with monitoring that will be things that you're looking forward to in the near future, in let's say the next 2 or 4 years, which will make your job easier in terms of integrating a lot more data into reducing risk and also checking the quality of the assets that you're investing in?
Yeah, sure. So you're asking about what is the role of technology in helping investment managers when we assess the ESG performance of our investment holdings, right? So there are a lot of ways that technology actually comes in. So maybe I just share from Amundi's experience as well, because every asset manager does the ESG assessment and scoring actually very differently. It is actually their own proprietary method. So at Amundi, we actually leverage technology to help us to do that. So internally, we have a platform called Auto Sustainability, meaning that when we want to see an issuer's ESG performance, we actually have a dashboard, a ESG dashboard, showing the company's carbon emission, current emission, and over the years, what's the trend. We can see not just one single ESG score of that particular company, but it breaks down into the E, S, and G pillar, and also the sub-criteria as well. So it's actually like a flower chart. Like we can see a lot of the ESG score of each pillar of that particular company. Other than that, there is also whether the company has made a commitment on SBTI, the Science-Based Target Initiative, what's the company's green revenue to brown revenue ratio. All that is actually already integrated within Amundi's auto sustainability platform. And we are actually continue upgrading the platform. What we are currently doing is that other than showing all these ESG metrics of an individual company, we also try to link that ESG metrics to financial metrics. So very often when you look at the ESG data providers in the markets, they would do a lot of ESG analysis of a company, but not many can do a correlation between that ESG metrics to how it affects the financial performance of that particular company. So this is something that we're currently working on as well, and we take climate as a start, especially on the transition risk side. So this is something that we're currently developing. So I think this is actually very pioneering in the market. So this is how technology helps us and actually help us a lot of work.
Hello, thank you for the talk. I am Ryu from SGFN, one of students from Ms. Véronique. Thank you for the talk. And you guys mentioned a lot about what financial institutions do during screening. But what I believe is the stakeholders have to understand the importance of sustainability, right? So what kind of things does financial institutions do to share the information and increase the awareness of sustainability? Thank you.
Okay, so maybe I'll take this and maybe Kristy, you can jump in to supplement. So, I think raising awareness is actually a very important topic for us. So, internally, SocGen is a big organization. So we have like more than 100,000 people globally. But nevertheless, like we spend a lot of like time and resources to basically bring awareness to our colleagues. So we have like weekly training to our colleagues. So whenever we close a sustainable finance transaction or there's an important piece of regulations or guidelines come out, then we will basically do a presentation to the relevant colleagues. So raising awareness is very important. And we're not only doing it like within the organization. So we're doing outside the organization as well. For example, like, not only me, but like actually all my fellow banking professionals as well. We are regularly doing like panel discussions on special topic to actually educate broader stakeholders on what will be the key sustainability issues, sometimes by industry, sometimes by activity, and then basically how to solve those sustainability issues. So that's what we have been trying to do. And we also understand the government actually has been promoting capacity building as well. For example, the Hong Kong government, they have like a subsidy scheme for people to take certain ESG certifications and then to subsidize them or to reimburse them on the cost. So these are all part of capacity building and raising awareness.
Thank you for sharing.
Yeah, so if I can just supplement a view from the investment manager side. So like I mentioned earlier, within our ESG team, we have a team that is our engagement team. So our engagement team actually engages with our investee and have ongoing communication to discuss their ESG performance. For example, decarbonization is a big target that we need to reach. So talking about decarbonization, when we look at the company's carbon targets, we don't just ask, oh, what is your carbon reduction target? We actually monitor whether that target actually progresses over the year and whether it's a credible target. And when we do that analysis, we actually communicate with the investee about that target. For example, when we look at the carbon reduction target, we actually have a 3-dimension model to look at that. We look at the breadth, depth, and height of that carbon target. I can't remember all 3 pillars exactly, but I remember it's like the carbon target, whether it covers all the necessary operations of your company, or whether you just ring fence some of your operations and set that target to a little part of your operations only. That's one of the angles we assess whether our carbon reduction target is credible or not. And so we do actually communicate with our investee company, and we take that like a journey to grow with our investee company. Because if our investee company actually do well, we as an investment manager actually can also get that benefit if they do well, and they also have a better financial return. That also benefits us as the investment manager as well.
Yeah, I think we have time for just one last question.
Hi, my name is Park, studying in School of Science. First of all, thanks for providing opportunity to participate such an informative event about the topic I was really interested. I want to ask you more about market trend. What do you think the major factor that resulted substantial drop in volume of sustainable finance in 2023 is? And why do you think ESG fund underperformed, especially in US? And do you think that's related to the robust growth of development and investment on nuclear power plant in the US?
So let me try. I didn't really hear very well. You're asking about the US specifically?
I was asking, what do you think the major factor that resulted a substantial drop in volume of sustainable finance in 2023?
It's the market as a whole, not just sustainable finance. So the debt markets overall declined, actually.
So just reiterate, like the overall market volume declined. So, but if you look at the market share of sustainable finance, so sustainable finance as a percentage of total loan volume, actually is relatively stable. So basically, you're looking at like a market that's down in total volume, but then like proportionally, basically borrowers and issuers, they're still quite interested in raising sustainable finance. So I would say the popularity of the product maintains, but then it's just the overall market volume decrease.
And if I can just add that if we're looking from a ESG fund perspective, in 2023, there was generally an outflow of the broader market fund. But if you look at the inflow to the ESG fund, actually there was still inflow to ESG funds over the year of 2023. And that shows that people do see ESG investing has a long-term value.
Now, I would supplement that because when you look at global numbers, that integrates the US. And in the US, for a number of different reasons, how do I tiptoe around that? You can't really say the word ESG anymore. So there's been a decrease in the flows in sustainable finance in the US, but that's not the case in other markets.
And I think we will conclude here. So thank you very much for 3 panelists for their very insightful comments. So let's just make a round of applause.
We will now move on to a presentation by Mr. Wang Leung, Head of Campus France. Mr. Leung, please.
Hello. Hello.
Hello. Yes. So, hi folks. My name's Wayne, and I'm the head of Campus France. Before starting the presentation, can I ask, does any one of you speak French or study French? I mean, except the French people. That's good. So, what's green in French? What's green in French? Vert. What's a worm in French? Vert. What's a glass in French? Vert. What's towards in French? Vert. So how do you say the green worm goes towards the glass of what? I can't remember. The green glass. Yeah. So it's le vert va vers le vert. That's a sentence. So yeah. Anyway. So yeah. So all right. Yeah, nice. Gentiment, okay, gently. Okay, so Campus France is a governmental organization overseen by two ministries in France, the Ministries of Foreign Affairs and European Affairs, and the Ministry of Education. So what do we do? What do I do? I mean, I promote French higher education throughout the world. I support our organizations to support international mobility towards France, and we also give out quite a few scholarships. So this year we are actually already given out 2 scholarships to HKUST students. So, well, we've been talking a lot about ESG, green finance. I'm not an expert, so I just copy and paste, to be very honest. But yeah, well, actually, France, there's a really big project called France 2030, where France aims to be the leader, the pioneer of green finance in the whole of the European Union. So this project aims to support the transformation of sectors of excellence in French economy, including the automobile economy, the aerospace economy, etc., etc. And so it's worth actually 54 billion euros over 5 years, and more than 34 billion will be invested into the financial area to make, to invest. I mean, yeah. And it also aimed to decarbonize France's industry by reducing greenhouse gas emissions by 75%. So far so good. And yeah, and actually in France, there's this green fin label, which means if an organization is, they maintain up to a certain standard, they'll get attributed this label by the French government, saying that this is a green company. I suppose the Société Générale is also part of, they got this label in France. So yeah, it's independently certified by experts. So yeah. And yeah, this might be more interesting. So in France, there's a lot of master programs in sustainability. So for example, the most famous one is HEC. So it's the best, management school in the world. And there's also ESCP. It's also very famous. Why would I put it here? Because if you are bored with kebab after one semester, sorry, I had kebab yesterday. So if you're bored with baguette, you can choose to go to another campus in ESCP, because it's a European school. There's a campus in Paris, a campus in Madrid, in Pisa, in Berlin. So you can spend one semester in Paris learning about sustainability. Afterwards, you can go to Berlin and get your kebab, and you might go to Pisa to get your pizza. It's a bad joke, and yeah, good. And yeah, but jokes aside, these 2 schools are very, very, very good, and each year a lot of students actually get scholarships studying at these institutions. Yeah. And other than these 2 schools, there are also public universities offering courses in sustainability. You can see Université de Montpellier is offering courses, and I would want to stress that you don't need to speak French. You don't need to set the green worm goes towards the green glass French sentence to be able to study in these institutions. The courses are all in English, and yeah, you don't have to worry about the language barrier. So yeah, and just to give you an example, so at HEC, you get to acquire all the fundamental knowledge of sustainability, and also get to know better the European standards of the green finance. And moreover, at HEC, there's a compulsory semester of internship. So you get to work at international organizations, the United Nations, or other corporate banks in the field of sustainability. And if you perform well during this internship, you might get employed. So you will stay in Europe or anywhere you're doing your internship. And yeah, just to show off a bit, it's part of my job. So HEC is actually ranked first in terms of management course, and second in terms of finance. SDAC is the third, ESCP is the first in terms of finance. So, just to say, France is the place to be if you want to study finance and business. Yeah. And as I said, France invests a lot into the future. So you can see a lot of great investments. The French government really wants to, set up this global standard of green finance, sustainability. So if you study this subject in France, you don't have to be worried you won't be employed, because really there are a lot of demands for talents in this respect. As I said, you don't need to speak French to be able to survive in France. You can only speak English, and you will be okay. I don't know why I switched to a French accent there, but so you don't have to speak French. So in France, there are more than 1,700 programs completely taught in English. Of course, you can take French classes, but it's not compulsory. And as I mentioned earlier, in HEC, there's one semester of compulsory internship. So in France, all master's programs are 2 years. Most master programs are 2 years, because the first year you study different courses, you learn different new knowledge, etc., etc. And the second year, as I said, you do an internship. And this is actually very good, because you don't have to be afraid of not having any professional experiences after you graduate. So you'll be sure that you have something to talk about in the CV, and employers really like it. So what are French degrees like? So as I said, French master degree lasts for 2 years. And they are if you study at one of those prestigious business schools, it's very wide recognized in Hong Kong. So there's no worry about any recognition issues. Yep. And so actually there are some partner universities of HKUST, as I mentioned. HEC is part of it, and a lot of other top business schools are also, partner university of HKUST. So if you want to get a taste of how studying in France feel like, you can apply for an exchange program and go and study in France. Each year we receive a lot of HKUST students going to France, and the feedback is always very positive. Yeah. If you want to be able to, to impress French people, to learn French, during summer holiday, you can search one of these language centers in France. As long as there's an FLE, the label, it means it's certified by the French government, and the quality of teaching is good. Yeah. And it's just a cultural class, that's the Disney castle. It's designed by Da Vinci. It's the Schönberg, and you got a lot of cultural heritage in France. You got all these I don't know, you know what I want to talk about. So yeah, all these amazing sites in France. And you know why green finance is important? Because we need to sustain a good environment in order to maintain these heritage. So for example, the Mont Saint-Michel, if we don't do sustainable finance, the water level will rise and rise and rise, and eventually there will be no Mount Saint-Michel. So it's important to study green finance. Yeah, and in France, there's this completely new way of life. In the south, you can go to the Côte d'Azur, a very beautiful beach. You want to, drink wine and eat cheese while looking at the horizons. Writing a poem. About your life. When you broke up, you want to have a place to yourself. Oh my God. So yeah, and or you are a really cultural guy. You want to visit museums, you want to go to operas, or you are more outgoing, you want to go to skiing. France has everything for everyone. Yeah. And can I play it? No. Play. Oops. Well, I'm really not good with technology, as you can see, and I'm going somewhere else. Right. So I'll just. Oh yeah, it worked. So this is made by one of our exchange students. So she went to France, and this is Bordeaux, cannelé, a very famous French dessert. This is Bordeaux. Yeah, and yeah. Yeah, of course, in Bordeaux, you want to get some wine and yeah, you also get to have really good Vietnamese cuisine in France. You know, like these crêpes or galettes. Museums. And it's just Disneyland, yeah. Right, now you all want to go to France, and these are just like some, French basic knowledge, the different type of restaurants in France. You have boulangerie, brasserie, cafe. They're all overpriced in Hong Kong, but, in France, they're a lot cheaper and very good. Yeah, so, France is in the middle of Europe. You get to travel to Italy, to Germany, to Spain, to wherever you like very easily. And you don't need to cross the borders again because France is part of the Schengen area. It's very, very efficient to travel around. And in Paris, you are looking into maybe 1,500 euros per month. Elsewhere in France, it's 800 euros. And, okay. So for a master's degree at a public university, it costs 32,000 Hong Kong dollars. At business school, for example, HEC, ESCP, those are more expensive because they are private institutions. You are looking into 200,000 Hong Kong dollars per year. But if you get our scholarship, we will finance your stay. Yeah. So France is also a very international destination. I mean, HKUST is also very international from what I'm seeing, but France is also very, very international. So 15% of the foreign students come from Asia, so you get to meet students from Korea, from Japan, and many other places, from North Africa, etc., etc. And yeah, so let's talk about scholarships. So last year we had 2 alumni from HKUST that got the France Excellence Yersin Scholarship, which is the most prestigious scholarship for master's students. So, Yep. So Yersin Scholarship, what's that? So we give you an monthly living allowance of 860 euros per month. We exempt all these, administrative fees, and we'll find you an accommodation. And yep. And so this is Chloe. She got the scholarship, and now she's studying in INSA Toulouse. And this is Ho Man Lee. She's currently doing aeronautic engineering in Super Aero. Yeah. That's all from me, and I hope it was useful, it was helpful, and see you soon. If you have any questions, feel free to write me an email, and I'll be more than happy to answer them. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Leung. Here comes our speak dating session. Please stay behind to enjoy some French food during this mingling session with the representatives. We would like to extend our gratitude once again to the Consulate General of France in Hong Kong and Macau, French Chamber of Commerce and Industry in Hong Kong, and the participating French companies for a pleasant and fruitful afternoon today. We look forward to welcoming you again soon. Have a delightful evening. Thank you.